All right, good morning. It is 9:43 on your Tuesday morning. I am meteorologist Payton Malone. We are tracking our big severe weather day here across the Gulf Coast and the South here in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama as our potent storm system makes its way across the region. So we're going to go over a lot of different details here, our severe weather threat, who might see the worst, the timing of it all, and of course, maybe when all this clears on out and we're looking at some better weather. Now, starting this morning, just before 10 a.m., looking at our live radar, we've got it scanning here, and you can see there it's already picking up some showers and a few thunderstorms trying to develop across the region. Nothing is severe in southeast Louisiana or South Mississippi at the moment, but if you go just to the west of Lafayette, that's where you run into the rough weather. So just a quick update on what's going on here locally right now, as we are tracking already some showers moving through the North Shore. These are streaming up to the north fairly quickly. They don't have a severe weather look to them right now. They're not producing anything other than some rainfall and maybe some gusty winds as they move to the north. So this is going to be in St. Tammany, Washington, Pearl River, and Hancock counties. Now, as we go in through the next several hours, there is some guidance that shows some showers like this trying to grow into something more mature and more substantial. And so we will have to keep an eye on that. I think if that does happen in the next several hours, it would be north of, mostly north of southeast Louisiana and South Mississippi, closer to Hattiesburg and kind of up in this zone right in here. But we're definitely going to keep an eye on that. But yes, there is some rain there right now. It's just not doing much, and no, certainly not severe at the moment. Look at this though. Rough weather off towards the west. I tell you what, I-10, you don't want to be heading west on I-10 into the Lake Charles or Lafayette area in the next several hours. Going to be some very intense weather here with blinding rain, ton of lightning, some gusty winds, and some of these are trying to rotate. And notice we're starting to see some showers develop north of Lafayette, kind of north of Baton Rouge, and those are going to have to be watched as well. The environment is only going to get more conducive and more favorable for tornadoes and damaging wind as we go through the day. So this is only the beginning of our Tuesday severe weather event. But this is what is heading our way towards southeast Louisiana. Going to get here this afternoon and evening. Here's the latest on our severe weather threat from the Storm Prediction Center. Just like the National Hurricane Center, they release these outlooks. They're responsible for these, and some of the best severe weather meteorologists in the entire world are the ones issuing these. So they know what they're talking about here. And you can see there a level 4 out of 5. That is way on up our scale here. It's quite rare to get a 4 down here in southeast Louisiana, but we've got it. And you can see there mainly north of the lake. It goes from Macomb, Jackson, Hattiesburg, Meridian, and down towards Lafayette, Baton Rouge here. Alexandria is also included in that moderate or level 4 out of 5 risk. This zone, where you see it, that's where we're most likely, more confident that we're going to get the most intense storms right in this zone. It does not mean everyone in that zone is going to get that severe weather, but it is more likely and more people will get it. Now, as you go further south towards New Orleans, we're in that level 3 out of 5. And I don't want you to necessarily focus on these exact lines. Yes, it's splitting St. Tammany in half, but guess what? Slidell's severe weather risk is about as significant as Folsom's severe weather risk, and they're both technically in different zones, but the severe weather risk is there. Now, for New Orleans, level 3 in the river parishes, level 3 down here towards Thibodaux and Houma. Still could see some substantial severe thunderstorms down here, but the trend will be as you go closer and closer to the Gulf of Mexico, the cooler waters of the Gulf of Mexico, you're going to lose some of that energy that you need to get these significant severe thunderstorms. So the closer you get to the Gulf here, Port Fourchon, Grand Isle, and the mouth of the river, the severe weather threat, it's a little lower, but it's still there. Everyone has a threat for severe weather today. We're talking about damaging winds and a few strong tornadoes. Those are our biggest concerns. The hail threat doesn't look like it's going to materialize into something they see in the plains where you get baseball and softball size hail. There could still be some damaging hail, maybe up to the size of quarter and golf balls in some of the strongest storms, but the tornadoes and the damaging winds are our main concern. And it's most likely north of the lake. It's most likely anywhere you see in this red zone. So especially on the North Shore, you got to be following the weather today. This will be most likely later this afternoon and evening, so there's not a lot going on at the moment. I do want to show you some of our, this is just one model run, but when as a meteorologist, you look at all the model runs and you find the best one you think that's actually going to be what happens. And I think this one's doing a pretty good job. This is one of our high resolution models we use quite often. And it's doing pretty good right now. Notice it's got the most intense storms right now off towards the west and western Louisiana. It is depicting some of these showers already popping up this morning, but they're fairly they're fairly weak right now. There's really not much to them. Now, as we go out in time, this is by 11 o'clock. So in the next hour, notice what's happening. You're starting to get these little, what we call discrete cells. It means they're ahead of this main line. They're by themselves. Those are the types of storms that can rotate and really take advantage of this rotating atmosphere and environment and develop and produce strong, maybe long-lived tornadoes. The best chance of that happening, or the most likely areas that happens, is north of the lake and the closer you get here to south central Mississippi. So we're talking Macomb, Hattiesburg, up here down towards the river, Natchez. This zone in right here is where I think we're most likely going to see those cells start to develop in the next several hours, and those will pose a significant tornado risk. And I do think that's going to be mainly right in here. They may be kind of launched off right here, but as they move to the northeast, they'll grow stronger, and this is the tornado threat earlier in the day. Now, as we go through the early afternoon, so we're talking now at 1 o'clock here with our model, notice some of these discrete cells are certainly going to be tornadic, maybe Hattiesburg, maybe Meridian, Macomb in this general area, and maybe even parts of the far north shore and south Mississippi. But notice, it's still pretty quiet down here on the south shore. So I think our risk in the early afternoon is going to be north shore and into this part of Mississippi. Now, as we go off towards the west here, notice our line of storms continues to blow to the east here. And that will continue to head in our direction. So there's kind of two different parts. We're watching these pre-cell storms, or these prefrontal storms, discrete cells, and then we're watching that intense squall line move across parts of the state. Now, advancing this to around 3 o'clock, notice what happens. You still got some of these discrete cells, but that line of storms is now approaching Lafayette and Baton Rouge. That's between 1 to 3 o'clock in the early part of the afternoon. And then it does start to approach parts of Tangipahoa Parish by 2 to 3 to 4 o'clock, it looks like. So really need to be watching the weather closely during that time frame. There's the squall line moving into parts of the Bayou River parishes, 4 or 5 o'clock or so. It'll start to approach more than likely the western parts of the metro closer to 6 to 7 o'clock. So we're talking now getting close to sunset. There's the intense line of storms. And notice it still looks pretty rough. There's still some cells in here that are going to try to rotate. There's still going to be some damaging straight line winds along that line as well. As we go into the 8 to 9 o'clock hour, we're finally seeing the worst of it move on through. It will still be in Mississippi at 8 to 9 o'clock, but it's just now getting past the metro. And then after 10 o'clock, I think we'll, for the most part, be done and winding down that severe weather threat. There may still be some rain, but overall that threat for severe weather will diminish once that squall line initially moves through your area. So once again, that highest risk is on the North Shore. That's where we have that level 4. And I'm going to break this down parish by parish. Excuse me, so a level 4 for most of the North Shore. Once again, don't get caught up on that exact line. The storms don't know that line exists, and the atmosphere in Slidell is about the same as the atmosphere in Folsom as we go through this afternoon. So your time frame, anywhere between 2 to 8 p.m. is the most likely chance you see those strong storms. There's already some showers developing. We're keeping an eye on them. It is possible maybe 1 or 2 strong storms tries to pop up earlier than that, but the majority of the storms will move in during that time frame. It'll start out here 2 to 4 p.m. and then it'll get closer to Slidell in this area by 6, 7, 8 o'clock. That's why there's such a wide time frame there. A few strong tornadoes are possible, high winds, of course, and a little bit of hail. Rainfall totals, it still looks like 1 to 3 inches. Isolated 3 to 5 inches looks possible, though, across parts of the North Shore. So going to have to watch for some street flooding in a few spots, I think. Here in the metro area, whether you're in Kenner, Metairie, New Orleans, maybe over in Chalmette, that's all considered the metro area. The West Bank's the metro, and the timing for us is going to be a little bit later in the afternoon and closer to the evening. So anywhere from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. is when we'll likely see that severe weather threat over the New Orleans metro. And that includes maybe a few tornadoes. It definitely includes some straight line winds and a little bit of hail. But once again, tornadoes and winds are our main concern. How much rain we talking? Probably in between 1 to 2 inches, but it's possible we get up to 3 in an isolated spot here and there. So, of course, in New Orleans, especially if drains are clogged in a few spots, a lot of leaves have been falling recently. It won't take much to get a little street flooding across parts of the city. But flooding doesn't look like our main concern here. All right, let's go for our friends up along the river. This goes from it includes St. James. It also includes Assumption and Ascension Parish. The severe weather threat out here is going to start a little bit earlier in the afternoon, so Baton Rouge will be between 1 and 3 o'clock. Now, if you're in Ascension or Ascension and St. James parishes, I think around 2 to 3 will be your time frame when you'll really need to be watching, and those storms will start to blow in. Could bring a few tornadoes, high winds, and some hail. As you go into St. John Parish, it'll be a little bit later, probably closer to 4 to 6, and then St. Charles between about 5 to 7 p.m. and everyone, once again, could see a few spin-up tornadoes with that squall line. Rainfall totals about 1 to 2 inches, maybe up to 3 in a few spots. Here's the bayou parishes. So for Houma and Thibodaux, you probably start to see some of those stronger storms maybe by 4 p.m. And then your time frame for that open window of storms will be between 4 and 7. So during that time, you need to be watching the weather. A few tornadoes possible down here, high winds. I want you to notice, though, our scale starts to decrease as you get closer to the Gulf. Level 2 out of 5 down here in Lower Fourche, Lower Terrebonne. You have influence of those cooler Gulf waters, which are still in the 60s right now. Houma and Thibodaux, though, notice you're in the level 3, so that just tells you the ingredients get a little bit better the further north you go. If you're down here in Lower Jefferson for Lafitte, Jean Lafitte, Crown Point, you're also in a level 3, so there is that risk for some storms, really all the way down to the coast through this afternoon and evening. St. Bernard and Plaquemines, this is going to be for lower Plaquemines and down into eastern St. Bernard, Hopedale, Wyclowski, Shell Beach, down through Port Sulphur, down through Venice, Buras, Triumph. A little bit later in the evening, between 7 and 10 o'clock tonight, few tornadoes are possible, high winds, and your rainfall totals will probably be between 1 to 2 with isolated 3. South Mississippi, we got viewers over here. Your severe weather risk is quite high, especially up into Pearl River and Stone counties where you have that level 4. That's where we're thinking better ingredients for maybe a few strong tornadoes, 5 to 10 p.m. Now, the severe weather threat could start a little bit earlier up here if any of those storms in the next couple of hours want to try to get really going and start rotating. So that could start a little bit earlier up in this zone. Now, if you're down here along the coastal part of the city or the counties, from Bay St. Louis to Waveland, Diamond Head, Long Beach, Gulfport, Biloxi, Pass Christian, it'll probably be later on this evening after sunset, anywhere between 7, 8, 9, and 10 o'clock. I think will be your best chance of storms right here down along the coast. It could start a little bit earlier up here in Pearl River County, though. So when you're taking shelter, if you do have to take shelter this afternoon, here's the deal. Is everyone going to get a tornado today? No, there's probably going to be a couple. And if that does move through your part of your neighborhood, you need to know what to do. And you need to know now what you would do, because in the moment, it's such a quick thing. These storms are going to be moving relatively quickly. You're not going to have time to sit there and come up with a plan. You've got to just think and then act. And the best place, of course, if you have a storm shelter or a safe room, that's where you want to be. But most people don't have those. If you do have an interior room in a sturdy structure, any given house down here that's built on a foundation that was built in that spot, it's usually a sturdy structure, and you can get into an interior room away from windows, sometimes a bathroom, the bathtub, the shower, those types of things. Put blankets. If you've got a little mattress, you can put a mattress over it. If it's serious enough, we always joke about the helmets. Put helmets on. This could be one of those days where the tornadoes are strong, and if you've got a helmet, have it laid out, ready to put on your head. Be wearing shoes. These are just things you may not think of, but if a tornado hits where you're at, you don't want to be barefoot, so have your shoes on, those types of things. Now, the bad places and the worst places to be in a tornado is a big room, auditorium, gymnasium, any big rooms that are just kind of opened up. Manufactured homes, mobile homes, trailers. These are terrible places to be in any wind event. Even if it's not a tornado, strong straight line winds can roll those things and do a tremendous amount of damage. So if you live in a mobile home, manufactured home, FEMA trailer, maybe you're still living in post or temporary housing following Ida, you need to think about spending the afternoon and evening somewhere else. Not when a warning is issued, leave. Just go ahead and text or call friends, family, and say, let's do dinner at your place tonight. Let's hang out there, because my house is just not safe in severe weather, and my living space is not safe in severe weather. So these are things you can think of now and when you can act. I know there's some shelters open across parts of the bayou parishes. Go ahead and check in on that. Maybe your local church has opened up. And just find a sturdy structure to be in this afternoon and evening as our storms blow on through. It's better safe than sorry. Of course, you don't want to be in a vehicle. If you're in a vehicle in a tornado warning, oftentimes you cannot outrun a tornado down here, because guess what? They're moving in a straight line, sometimes at 50 miles an hour. They're going to catch up to you. Oftentimes you can go into convenience stores, just somewhere to get safe. And of course, last resort is always the ditch, but it sometimes comes down to that. And don't park under overpasses and block the interstate. That is extremely dangerous, because then you lock people up on the interstate and they're stuck in the path of a tornado because you're stopped and blocking the interstate. So just keep that in mind. We see that a lot of times. If you're sheltering in a house, once again, interior part of the house, an interesting question, something that happens down here, shotgun houses. We really don't have interior parts of shotgun houses. You have your rooms, and that's it. Well, just go to the most interior part and sturdy part of the building as you can. If you do have a bathroom, even if it borders the wall here, an exterior wall, most of the time that's going to be enough. Get in the bathroom, get in the tub, get in the shower, bring some blankets, of course the helmet, the tennis shoes, those types of things. But the key word there is just a sturdy structure. And usually you're going to be okay in a tornado. Now the other part of the story is going to be for some heavy rainfall. Now flooding does not look like a huge issue with this event, but there's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. These are going to be producing torrential downpours as they move on through. And widespread, I think 1 to 2 to 3 inches looks like a good bet. Most people will probably pick up at least an inch of rainfall. But there's going to be a few that may get close to around that 3 to perhaps an extremely isolated 5 inches. And if that falls in your neighborhood and you don't have great drainage, you're going to get street flooding. Where that happens is anyone's guess, but it could happen. So the street flooding threat's relatively low, but it is possible that we see a little bit of flooding. The great news is after today, this is a fantastic forecast. 60s and sunny tomorrow, and then we're in the 70s. We got lots of sunshine all the way through the weekend. So we'll get a long extended period of a break from this severe weather here, but we do need to get through today. So let me just do a quick recap. If you're just joining us, it is just after 10 a.m. on our Tuesday morning. We are tracking that threat for severe weather through today. The main time frame for southeast Louisiana and South Mississippi is going to be later this afternoon into this evening. That's when all the conditions and all the ingredients will come together for that damaging wind threat and a tornado threat. This is going to be a greater threat than what we normally see. Usually we're sitting at about a level 1 or 2. Today we're sitting at a 3 and a 4. So we're getting on in the upper end of that scale. And these are the types of days where you really just need to follow the forecast closely. Once again, people hear these forecasts and they do sound scary. We've been through many severe weather events like this, and we'll get through today as well. But preparedness truly is key. Whenever you're talking about severe weather threats, being prepared is really all you could do. Just like in a hurricane, except you can't evacuate for a tornado. You just got to know where you're going to go should a severe thunderstorm warning be issued for your area. And I want to briefly touch on our severe weather and these outlooks we talk about, because they do have a meaning, and it all comes down to probability and what is your likelihood of getting a severe thunderstorm in your area. And as you go up the scale from 1 to 5, you're just more likely to see a severe thunderstorm. Guess what? Terrible tornadoes can happen in a level 1. It's probably just going to be isolated. There's probably going to be one. Where, yes, terrible tornadoes and things can happen in a level 5. They're just more widespread. There's probably going to be a handful of them. So really, it's a probability map. Today, we're sitting at a level 3 and 4. Usually, we're sitting at a level 1 and 2 for severe weather. But we've got enough ingredients today to where we're expecting numerous storms, maybe even widespread strong storms, and these can be persistent and long-lived severe thunderstorms. Severe thunderstorms are anything that produce damaging wind gusts of about 60 miles an hour or higher, and if they produce a tornado or large hail, they're considered severe. Notice a level 3, you could have a few tornadoes there, several reports of wind damage. That is certainly a possibility today and looks pretty likely at some point. Level 4, this is where we're sitting on the North Shore and into Mississippi. Strong tornadoes are possible. We could see a few strong tornadoes today. Widespread wind damage looks like it's a little bit more likely on the North Shore and into Mississippi. And our large hail threat, I'm not really concerned with that today, but there could be some hail, but really we're concerned with that tornado and wind threat, and that will be mainly through the afternoon and going into the evening. All right, it's 10 a.m. We are going to continue to track this threat for severe weather. Of course, you can watch us here on all of our platforms, whether you're watching on YouTube or over on Facebook. Download the WWL-TV app. We're on Roku, Fire Stick, all the streaming services. A lot of people watch us that way during hurricane season. It's the same exact thing today. Just find a way to watch us should severe weather strike, and you can keep up to date there. And of course, you could just tune in on the old TV, Channel 4. We will be there with any updates and tracking any severe weather as it moves through the region as we go through the remainder of the afternoon and evening. But for now, we will be back on Channel 4 with another update for the Eyewitness News at noon.